you can go to the airport, and if you have this credit card, you can get into these lounges and eat their food for free and stay after work. So maybe they have free meals, all this crazy stuff. And it's not sustainable because it's like you're racing to this line of being able to have a small budget to continue to eat rice and beans for the rest of your life. And while I got a lot out of that, and it really opened my eyes to retirement is not an age, but it's your net worth number. And there's different ways to go about that too. But Ramit is the first one where I was like, okay, I see how everything is meeting here of the FIRE community versus real life. How can we mesh these things together for your rich life?
Hi friends, welcome back to Invested and Rested. We are here today and we're starting something new. We're starting a 4-part series, and this is really for new investors. So people that have been thinking about getting into real estate investing but are a little bit stuck on where to start. This is the perfect series for you. So keep listening. Every week on Wednesday, the next 4 weeks, we'll have these 4-part series. The episodes are going to include, first off today, we're talking about goals and finances. So how to create your vision, how to set goals and why they're important, and how to get your finances in order to start investing in real estate. And just a little preview, you don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to have tons of money. Yes. So keep listening even if you don't. Then we're going to talk about Then the second episode is going to be about educating yourself and gathering a team that will help you with your investment journey. The third episode is going to be about analyzing deals, making offers, and the whole contract process. And the last part is about closing the deal and organizing your business, because a lot of people don't think about it, but real estate investing is a business. Once you have it, you need to create an LLC, all that kind of stuff.
And I think that's the biggest thing that people get hung up on is, do we create an LLC? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's confusing. I mean, you and I have both done it. We've had long conversations about,
yes, Caitlin,
do I need a holding company? And it's a lot.
Yeah.
But before we get started, if at any time during these 4 episodes you're thinking, I just want to ask someone my specific personal questions, because, you know, I had that at the beginning, and I'm sure you have that, and I know Rianna had that. So if at any time you're like, I need help, like, get me some help, we are here for you. We're running a promotion this whole month on discounted coaching sessions with us, just one-off coaching sessions. We don't normally do one-off coaching sessions. We're going to do coaching programs. So this is your time to just like get in and ask us all those questions and learn from us. So go to investedandrested.com. It's right on the homepage, and you can click and you can get a session with Rianna, or a session with me, or a session with both of us.
Yes. All right, let's get started.
All right. First things first, you need to set a vision and figure out why you're doing this in the first place, and then set some goals around it. Rianna, did you set yourself a vision when you were first starting? I didn't.
I love the honesty, and I feel like so many people, they also don't. They kind of fall into it, but from there end up creating a vision. I wish I had more of a vision. Girl, I'd be on the beach with margaritas every single day if I started with vision right away.
Seriously, right?
Actually, I'd probably be here too, because I can't do that all the time. I like a good mix. But I started kind of in a baby step of, all right, I'm just going to get my first one. I'm going to kind of like try this on and see how it feels, because my aunt, who is in real estate, she told me, she's like, you might not like having people in your space. And I was like, I never thought about that. And that's something that stuck with me as tenets to things that you wouldn't expect them to do. But from there, I created a vision of wanting to buy one house every year until I was 30. Now I'm over 30 and my vision has changed. We can get into that more later too.
I didn't have a vision when I started, and my family is in real estate. So my brother was selling his house, and my dad was like, you should buy it as a rental, because we were moving abroad. And I was like, okay, it just happened, which is almost great too, that I didn't think too much about it. I didn't stress about it. I was like, My dad thinks this is a good idea, so it should be a good idea. But a mistake in that is a good reason why you should create a vision is because I had this single family home for 8 years, 8.5 years. And for the first 6 years, 7 years, we didn't do anything with it other than have the renters pay their rent. We didn't use the equity that we were building in it to then go out and buy more real estate. So that equity was just sitting there doing nothing for us. And at the end of the day, I did the analysis. Like, we did make a lot of money off that house, but ROI year after year, it would have been the same putting it in some index funds in the stock market and getting 7% returns. So the thing about it is, like, create a vision so you're not, I didn't want to property manage. Like, why property manage if you could just stick your money in the stock market and get the same amount or maybe even some more? So that's why you create a vision, because I could have been utilizing that equity and bought multiple properties in the 8 years that I had it. So don't make my mistake and listen to what I have to say today. Yeah. Respect it. So let me tell you a little bit where to start on your vision.
I love it. I love talking about vision. Gets me excited.
Me too. Yeah, I'm a big vision board girl. So now my vision board has like different real estate on it too, which it didn't have before. But
ooh, send me a picture. I haven't seen it. When we do our house tours, we can do that.
Yeah.
So Caitlin and I live in different states, and obviously we love real estate, and we've seen little bits and pieces of each other's homes just from being on here and FaceTime and stuff, and we're like, we should do some house tours sometime for each other so we can see each other's places.
Yeah, I saw a different room in your house. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. I want to see the rest of your house. So we got to do that soon. We'll take you along on Instagram. Be sure to follow us at Invested and Rested if you don't already. We are in the midst of our Real Estate Investing 101 series where you're learning all the steps to get started in real estate investing. But sometimes the more you know, the more questions you have. So on July 17th, you're going to want to hop on our group coaching call. It's totally free. You come on, ask your specific questions, and also get to learn from others and their questions. And you're also going to understand the benefit of coaching and how helpful it can be along your real estate journey.
Yeah, so head over to investedandrested.com to sign up today so that everybody can get something out of this. Our spots are limited, so make sure you secure your space today. Thanks, friends.
All right, back to our vision. So first off, why do you want to own real estate as an investment? Like, think about really why you want to own it. Is it because you just want to have a good retirement plan? Do you want to quit your job? Like, are you like, in the next 5 years, I really want to quit my corporate job? Or is this just like a diversifying your portfolio play? Like, you're already in the stock market. Let's get some real estate. Let's get some Bitcoin or whatever. Like, totally a good option.
Tax benefits, I think, is a great one too.
Oh, yeah, totally. Especially for people that have W-2s, because you don't have the ability to write anything off unless you have some sort of business on your own. And so real estate can be that business that you can write different portions of your income or write different portions of your expenses off and not have to pay taxes on them. So that's pretty cool. The last one could be location freedom. I know that's Rianna's goal, and part of my goal is to have more flexibility with location. So yeah, what are you thinking, Rianna? Is your kind of a mix of everything?
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a mix of everything. For me, it started by like wanting to get out of my job and not seeing myself climb the corporate ladder and being able to have control over my investments. You know, I can't imagine, I was not invested in the stock market in 2008. I was in high school, but I can't imagine what that was like for some people to lose 60% of their portfolio. And I understand with real estate that there's ups and downs as well. And there's things that happen all the time out of our control. COVID happened. Of course, if you had a short-term rental that time, like that was really tricky. Every aspect of COVID was really tricky, right? But with real estate and owning it, I have the control to pivot when I want. During COVID, that's why we got started in short-term rentals, is because we were having a hard time finding a long-term quality renter. So we were like, great, let's pivot. I'm actually looking to make a couple more pivots right now because I have control over that. And I have control when I go on vacation and when I don't. So
yeah, it's
those
so
are some
true.
parts I like.
Yeah, I still have my day job. I don't have as much control yet, but it's coming.
Will.
And one day, and yeah, I think freedom. I've done my my charts, my my rising. What's that called? Like I've done my astrology charts.
Yeah.
And like she was like every part. I did it with a woman helped me decipher everything.
Yeah.
And she was like, every part of your sign is like, you need freedom. I was like, that sounds about right.
That makes sense
like,
for me. Yeah.
I feel trapped when I don't feel free. So yeah, that's a big one for me is just freedom of time and more location freedom. Just I like having a home base. I don't really care to be nomadic, but I do like the idea of being able to take a month or two off in the summers and go somewhere when the kids are off school and that kind of thing.
And just not having to count your PTO too, I think is huge. It doesn't mean that you need to live out of a backpack on somebody's couch. I mean, I've done that. It's fun, but that doesn't mean you need to do that or that all of the time. It just means maybe you're not counting your PTO days and trying to strategically place them and have to cut your vacations short. Maybe it means you're sick and you just need a couple days to rest and you have an option to do so.
Yeah, totally. I know just yesterday, my girlfriends were trying to plan a weekend trip together and one's a teacher and one's a stay-at-home mom and they have summers off and they're like, let's just go in the middle of the week. And I was like, I'm already taking so many vacation days. I'd have to take it unpaid and I don't want to do that.
It's
life.
So but that's why we're investing in real estate.
That's why we're investing in real estate. So we don't have to do that one day.
Yes.
So from there, what kind of life do you want to have in 5 to 10 years? Like that's the kind of stuff that Rianna and I have been thinking about. Like, what do you want out of life? And the next, thinking about it in what's the next step in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Write it down and get really clear on not just like the big vision, but the small details. Like, what does your day look like? Like, what do you do first thing in the morning? What kind of workouts do you do? What do you eat? What do you outsource and what do you do yourself? And like really thinking about the nitty gritty, because the more you can imagine that life in a few years, the easier it is to like keep going and to like keep the momentum going and then also create the bigger vision too. Like, where do you want to live? Where do you want to travel to? Who do you want to be surrounded by? And maybe you don't even know that person yet, but.
All right, Caitlin, so what's your vision then for the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, my big vision and the thing that keeps me going is I'd love to retire my husband from his corporate job. He likes it just fine for a job, but ultimately I want him to be able to try something different that doesn't have to make a certain amount of money each month.
Yeah.
So something like I can see him being like the baseball coach for the high school or something like that. Cute. Where you make a little money, but it's not the big bucks, but fulfilling. Right. So that's a big vision for me. And another more personal, that's personal because it affects our life together. But personally, I would love to not work a regular job anymore. Yeah. I mean, my job's not that regular. Like it's not really a 9 to 5, but like you said, I have vacation days and I have to think about that. And I want to spend next summer, like the summer with my kids, whether that's taking off more time from my current job or not being there any longer. I don't know. Yeah. We'll find out. And then another vision for me that we lived abroad in Switzerland, and I also right out of college lived abroad in South America for 9 months. I was in Buenos Aires, Chile, and Peru, and so I speak decent Spanish. I mean, I've lost it. It's been 15 years now, but I know it would come back if I lived in the Spanish.
We can switch over and do this podcast in Spanish if you want instead to practice.
No gracias. I have a guy that's working with us right now, Jorge, and like we speak Spanish together, but I'm like, your English is actually better than my Spanish. We should probably just
especially when it's like materials and these like words that you did not learn.
Yeah, that part too. It's like that thing, like I have the verbs, but not the nouns in it. But yeah, so I have a dream of moving to Costa Rica for a year. That is one of my big dreams to take my kids there. And like, I just love the idea. Like, we lived in Switzerland for 6 years, but if you live someplace a long time, you have to really uproot everything. But I like the idea of just like renting out our house for a year, going there, finding a school for the kids, and just like immersing in a different culture for a year and getting my Spanish back, having my kids learn Spanish. John will never learn Spanish, but whatever.
That's right. It'll make yours better. You can translate for him.
Exactly. Yeah. I never got the German thing down. I could do the basics, but it's a hard language.
It is.
And I was living in the Swiss German part, where Swiss German is like, it's like speaking English with a Scottish accent. So if you learned American or British English and then you hear a Scottish person talk, it's like such a heavy accent. Have you ever heard a Scottish person talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a heavy accent. So that's what Swiss German is to German. So you're learning German, but then you're on the street and you're learning.
And it's totally different from what you learn.
It's totally different. So it's like
so hard.
Like 5 can be fünf in German, but then Swiss German, I don't even remember now, but it's like foif. It sounds like a totally different word. So,
yeah, that's like learning 2 languages in one.
Exactly. And yeah. So off topic, but kind of on topic, because I loved living abroad and I want to bring that back into my life, but do it in a way that works for my life now, because now we have kids and I don't want to uproot everything for multiple years. I love being near my family on a regular basis, but like a year sounds really fun, and everybody would come visit if we stayed for a year.
I'm ready to come visit right now.
Oh yeah, you're coming.
Yes.
Okay, so first you are figuring out why you want to do it, then you're figuring out the vision for your life in the next 5 to 10 years, what you want to do, get that like clear vision, and take time to write it down too. Like I write it down at least every year, maybe twice a year, but that will really help. And then the next thing is kind of something that you don't have to get exact on, but decide what kind of real estate you're thinking about investing in. Like Rianna got into short terms after being in long-term rentals, so like you don't have to decide exactly, but think about what it is you want. Like if you want a rental property for a long time, it might be a good idea to buy a turnkey property. You don't have to desire to flip a place or do a lot of construction. If you buy a newer build because you're going to keep it for many years to come, that's okay. That could be a great place for you to start. If you want to quit your job in the coming years, you're going to need some more active income. So that's where Rianna has like short-term rentals. That's where, people that I know, they're doing flips regularly. And you'll need to just add more value to the property if you're going to want to take money out. So like my vision right now is every multifamily I'm buying, I'm trying to add value, because I want to add value, up the rents, and then refinance, take money out, and buy the next building. And I know you've done that a bunch of times, Rianna, right?
I haven't refinanced anything actually, but I know it never made sense. Like, okay, at the time, it never made sense. If I were to look back and actually run the numbers, there probably would have been a lot of things that made sense, but I didn't understand the full picture of what that looked like. But I do have a second mortgage on a lot of the properties. So that's how we were able to buy our commercial properties, was by taking out a second mortgage. So just in place of financing, basically. So we were still able to keep our low rates, which is really nice.
What are the rates, just out of curiosity, what are the rates on your second mortgages?
They are the same as the 2 commercial buildings that we have. So so we have like a larger loan, for the 80%, and then for our 20% down payment, that's the exact same. So one of them is 5.5 and the other one is 7.5.
Okay. Yeah, it's not crazy.
Yeah,
like
but
these days they could be up to 9+.
Exactly. Or like if we might be taking a HELOC on one of them, and then that one will be, market rate plus a little bit if we decide to go that route. And then we still have our original mortgages on our properties that range, I think it goes up to 7.6, but it's as low as maybe 3 something from the day when that existed.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for a lot of people, if you locked in at 3%, like a second mortgage, HELOC is a good idea because you don't want to refinance the whole thing.
And I think it just
But
depends on what your goals are too and what products are available
right,
at the time that you're looking.
yeah, it's so true. You just see what's out there when you're ready or getting close to being ready to buy the next thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so you can get a general idea of what kind of property you want to buy based off of your goals. So that's why it's really nice to set the goals. And no, that's why it's nice to create the vision, so it'll help you figure out all those other aspects, you know? So from here, now that you have a vision and you're creating this general idea of what kind of property you might want to buy, set some true goals for yourself. Like get smaller. 30-day goals, 90-day goals, 1-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. So I did this, I'll tell you more about it a little bit, but I did this August of 2022. I sat down. I remember my kids were sleeping over. John was gone for the whole week, so I had one night where they slept over at their grandparents' house, and I took myself out to dinner. I got a glass of wine, had my book and my journal, and I wrote out my goals. And the next 30-day goals was like make 5 offers. No, my 30-day goals were to analyze 5 deals. And then my 90-day goal was to make offers and get in contract. And then by the end, so this was in August, and then I was like, by the end of the year, I want to close on a deal. And that helped me so much, just having this clear vision of what I wanted. And then it was like homework, like, okay, I got to analyze a couple deals, because that was the hardest part to get myself to do.
Yeah.
It just felt so scary to like analyze a deal. And then once I started, I was like, this is not that bad. This is actually kind of fun. I love math. Why was I scared to do this?
And then it's just baby steps. You're breaking it down, so it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna buy a building. Who do I think I am? I can't do this. It's like, oh great. It just starts with step number 1 and then go on from there.
Yeah, exactly. So do that. Take yourself out someplace nice too. Like do something that would be fun for you and make it
Make it special, make it different, and so then you can be in a creative mind space. Like, yeah, I've done a lot of goal setting at home too, but some of my favorite places to do it are outside of the house. I really like to do it in the sauna. I don't know what it is. I'm getting really hot. Maybe it's just stress. My hands are like, you gotta write fast. We're burning up in here. I don't know what it is.
I set some of my best ideas in the sauna. I don't have one, but I've done it enough times. Every time I go in, I'm like, all these ideas are popping in.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And you can't have your phone in there for very long anyway. So instead of thinking about how toasty you're getting, just think about your life.
Yeah, exactly. Create your goals.
Yeah. I like to be outside too. I haven't gone to any parks, but I've like gone down by the river and, or like with some coffee in the morning, just sitting outside. I guess that's my backyard, but I love my backyard. So it's an inspirational place for me.
That's good. But sometimes even just getting outside into your own backyard. Like I have a great backyard, but picking up my stuff and like going out there and setting it up, I have to bring the cushions out from the garage and just little stuff like that. But the act of doing that is like creating an intentional space for you to sit down and do something a little different.
Yes.
So tell us about your short-term goals and long-term goals.
Yeah. So my short-term goals, like I said, my first one was to buy one property every year by the time I was 30. And I was thinking, okay, that will be about 30,000. I also didn't really totally run the numbers or understand what I was doing when I first started, just enough to be dangerous and to keep going and to know that it was a good idea. And I couldn't really see past that, if I'm being completely honest. I just like, oh, cool, I could have like an extra $30,000 a year. That sounds awesome. I'll just buy just one a year, no problem. And I shouldn't say just one a year. Like this would stress me out. I wouldn't sleep. How do you concentrate on all of your other stuff? Well, it gets much easier as you continue to go, which we'll talk a lot about. But so that was my first goal. And then after that, or before that, I guess, I found more online resources and more connections and friends that were doing this. So goals had slightly changed for the next couple of years. This is the first year, though, that I don't have a goal to buy anything, which it's good because, I mean, we're focusing on our largest renovation. So it's not like I'm just sitting around. I'm focusing a lot more on my health. which I'm making a lot of progress on and feels really good. And then also the renovation. I feel like I'm getting a little bit off topic, but at the end of the day, I'm really happy where I'm at. I've dreamed of being in this space, but I definitely still would like to go further. As far as I still have a cash flow goal, a net worth goal, and also would like to have a little bit more flexibility. And then each year we're going to kind of reevaluate how things are performing. Do we have a pain point that we want to trade something on? So for example, the Airbnbs that we have right now, we haven't officially announced this. We'll probably actually make that decision by the time that this airs, but 99.9999% positive that we are going to switch those back to long-term goals or long-term rentals, excuse me, because that's what meets our long-term goals.
Yeah, not having to be on so much, like, because I spent the weekend with you a couple of months ago, and it's like you're answering a lot of questions and talking to a lot of people throughout the day, and but you are local, so you can property manage.
And we looked into, okay, well, what if we did property manage? Well, we're also at this impasse where we would either need to gear up a little bit more and put more into our business so we could get more out of it. For that first year, that's probably just going to break even. So we still need to make a decision on how does this fit into our long-term strategy. And for us and for tax purposes, we don't need those to be short-term rentals. They'll be just fine as long-term ones as well. So
great. Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like the goals can be fluid. They can change. There is no reason why you have to stick with the goal that you created for yourself 5-10 years ago. And you learn so much more about yourself, about real estate, about the life that you want, and things change. So let your goals change with them.
Yeah, one thing I want to touch on that is when I was in a 9 to 5, I switched over to the short-term rentals. And I was like, gosh, I only need a few of these at that time, I only need a few of these to replace my 9 to 5 income. Well, what's my trade-off? What are my options? Having a few short-term rentals, being property managing them myself, being on a lot, having random questions, or selling my time, my, large chunk of my day. Yes, that's like a set aside specific time, 9 to 5. Then after 5, you're off. Or am I maybe on all the time, but I really only work X amount of hours? I'm like, let's do all short-term rentals. That sounds great. And now that I am out of that and I'm a little bit further along in my journey, yes, that's now shifting to where I'm like, we're going to make less money, but I'm okay and I understand what that trade-off is, and I ran those numbers.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you interested in real estate investing but not quite sure where to start? Or maybe you already own some properties but not sure what to do next? Or are you considering changing your investing strategy from long-term to short-term or single family to multifamily? Well, let us help.
From now until June 30th, we're running a promotion for one-off coaching sessions. Get personal attention to help make those investing dreams a reality with either Caitlin or Rianna as your coaches. Grab a single session for $100 or one session with each of us for just $150. Go to investedandrested.com for more information. Again, that's investedandrested.com.
All right. Well, hopefully everybody has figured out that you should make a vision, make some goals, and the next step is to get your finances in order. And I am a pretty big nerd about finances, which is my husband doesn't believe it because we move in together, and then he got this job in Switzerland. We moved to Switzerland, and then I had to be reliant on him for he paid for everything. I wasn't allowed to work there. It was a very weird transition for me. And so I ignored our finances for a few years, and he just thought I didn't care and wasn't interested, but it was my way of coping with this new lifestyle.
Right.
But actually now we have tons of conversations about finances, and he's like, I'm so happy you're finally into this. And I'm like, always been into it. I just had a couple of years off.
Yeah. Tried to figure out marriage in a new country and not working in a new language.
Yeah, exactly. It's let's just not think about that for a bit. But I have always loved finances, and I used to babysit growing up, and I had a journal of every single babysitting job and how much I earned. Like I kept the tallies. I made some
Cool.
good money babysitting.
Yeah.
But now my finance self listens to the only podcast I listen to every single week, and Rianna knows this. I'm like a total. I would be starstruck if I ever meet Ramit Sethi, because I am obsessed with this podcast. I will
Maybe
teach you to
someday he'll
rich.
be on our podcast.
Yes, I'm putting it on the vision board.
Yes.
But he has a podcast. It's called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It's a really stupid name. I don't like it. But when you listen to the podcast, his version of rich is like figuring out what works for you. Like you don't have to make millions and millions of dollars. You have to figure out, just like we were talking about, what do you want for your life, and then create money goals around that, and figuring out how much you need to create the life that you want. Not everybody wants a yacht and a private jet. They just want a big farm that their family can come to every year and a bunch of animals. That's not my dream, but it could be somebody else's. And you don't need a ton of money. You don't need millions of dollars for that. So,
I think he has a really healthy approach. I started listening when I got into personal finance. I started listening to more FIRE, which is what is it? Financial independence, retire early.
retire early.
So it's like eat rice and beans, never have coffee out, go to the airport you can go to the airport, and if you have this credit card, you can get into these lounges and eat their food for free and stay after work. So maybe they have free meals, all this crazy stuff. And it's not sustainable because it's like you're racing to this line of being able to have a small budget to continue to eat rice and beans for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And while I got a lot out of that, and it really opened my eyes to retirement is not an age, but it's your net worth number. And there's different ways to go about that too. But Ramit is the first one where I was like, okay, I see how everything is meeting here of the FIRE community versus real life. How can we mesh these things together for your rich life?
Exactly. And what is so funny about it is like when I describe it to people that know me from being a health coach, I'm like, he's like the intuitive eating of the health world.
Yes.
Because like FIRE is like some crazy crash diet and like keto or
Yes.
whatever. It's like, do this, you have to only do this, or like intermittent fasting, you're only allowed to eat 6 hours a day, like all this stuff because you want to lose weight really fast. But then you get there and you're like, but now I can only eat 6 hours a day, and now I've lost the weight, but I'm not happy.
And you can't get those McDonald's fries we were talking about on our little intermission.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's really like figuring out what's going to work for you and just being super intentional about your finances. And, with my health coaching, being super intentional about what you eat because of how you want to feel. And so it's like, I could go off on it all day long. But anyways, go listen to his podcast. We're going to have him on here one day too. And I'm going to fulfill my dreams of meeting him. But I did read his book. He has a book too. He also has a show, if you're more into watching shows, How to Be
It's on
Rich. I don't like
Netflix.
the show as much as the podcast. But the first things first is if you have any credit card debt, you got to get out of that, because investing in real estate is not going to help you get out of credit card debt. Like 18%, 20% interest that you're paying on having this credit card debt, that's so high. You have to clear that before getting into real estate, because the ROI on real estate, it could be 18 to 20%, but don't get yourself into more debt to hope that you're going to get that much to, counteract the interest rates on the credit card. So don't do that. Let's work on getting your credit card in debt, getting out of credit card debt. I had an old coworker that she was really stressed out about finances, and I was like, just like, do you want me to help you? And so one day we sat down with her finances, and she was paying equally into her student loans, which at the time she didn't even have to pay. It was on pause during COVID. And she was paying equally into that as her credit card debt that had 18% interest. And so don't do that. What I had her immediately do was like, don't pay any money. Well, this is on pause. Your student loans, don't pay any money into it. Go fix your credit card debt, because look at and call your credit card companies if you have multiple, figure out what the interest percentages are on each of them and go with the highest one first, try to pay it off, keep paying the minimums on the others, of course, and then go to the next one, pay it off. I mean, you can pay off a little of each of them at the same time, but that would be my recommendation, is to go with the highest interest first.
Emotionally,
and
it's nice to check off those each one at a time too.
Exactly. Yeah. And, and also figure out how many months it's going to take you. Like, I feel like that is really going to help you when you realize, oh, if I pay this much every month, I'm going to be out of debt in X amount of months. And that's like, okay, that's not that bad. I talked to the girl I was working with. I was like, if you do this, you're going to be out of debt in 7 months. And like that clicked with her. And then she ended up getting a side job so that she could get out of debt in like 5 months. And
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch and be part of, and realize that so many people don't have this financial education. And I had parents that were, financially savvy, I guess. I didn't really know that at the time, but just they had a healthy relationship with money, and I had an interest in it, so I started learning about it as well. But that's not the case for everyone. So there's a lot of people out there that are like, just start investing in real estate, like it's going to make you millions of dollars. But I'm here to tell you, get your finances in order first, because you can start investing in real estate and you can lose a lot of money too. It's a big risk, and you want to know where everything's going and get a clear vision of what you're doing with your money before you make any large investment like real estate.
Absolutely.
So work on your credit card debt. I do believe that, especially if you have low interest student loans, like you can start investing in real estate with low, 3 to 4% student loans, because you will get a better ROI than that. So of course, work on paying those off and whatnot. But I do believe that if you have low interest debt, that's totally fine. But from there, once you have your finances more in order, start checking out loans, because get clear on what kind of loans are out there, because that's going to help you figure out how much money you need to save. Like, there's some loans out there that you only have to put 3.5% down. This is a perfect loan if you're house hacking, like Rianna did. She bought a house and rented out the rooms. Other people are buying duplexes or triplexes, keeping one for themselves and renting out the others. And that's perfect for that, because they're going to be able to pay the extra money that, your mortgage will be higher if you're only putting 3.5% down. But if you're house hacking in that way, it's okay, because, well, you have to run your numbers, don't get me wrong, but hopefully their payment will offset that extra and at least be paying a portion of your living situation as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. And yeah, like Caitlin said, make sure you run your numbers. But sometimes it's, all right, I don't make a lot of money. I really want to get into starting with real estate investing. I don't have a ton of money either. How can we get creative and make something happen? And that's exactly what I did. Yes, this was back in the day, but I was making $36,000, which was not a ton then either. And I did also have a couple of side jobs. I would nanny and serve on the side, but I did want to buy a house, and then I couldn't imagine paying a mortgage by myself off of that, even though I was qualified for it for one. But that's why I had roommates to help pay for it. And it's not like they were living for free, but they were my friends, so they didn't get, it was a good situation, I think, for all of us too.
Yeah. And you said that you saw a loan that's like only $1,000 down payment.
Yeah, so there's some programs. So if you live in the Minnesota area, let's chat. But there's some programs where, depending on what your income is, around, like, for single person, I think it's like $90,000 and less. There's some grants that you can just put $1,000 down, and they will pay for your down payment up to like $17,000. Yeah, so I've helped some people that have just put $1,000 down on their house, and now they're homeowners. So that's like taking your security deposit from your rental and then putting that down on your earnest money, and voila, instead of renting, now you have a house. And this also works for multifamily too. So you could buy a triplex, put $1,000 down and rent out the other units. And it's just insane. It's still like mind-boggling to me. And even if you make more, there are still some programs where you can put very little down. You will just have to pay that portion of it back when you either move or sell.
But hopefully by that time you're going to have equity in it, so
Yeah.
you're still going to make money off of it.
Yeah, I ran like extensive numbers on this super amazing triplex I found. And with a situation like this, like, okay, what if you were to live in it for 5 years? It was basically turnkey. You could do some little things like make the kitchen a little cuter, but there wasn't really that much to actually do. And at the end of the day, you would go basically from $1,000 to $100,000. That's after paying realtor commissions. That's after paying like your normal monthly expenses. It's technically house hacking because you'd be living in one of the units, but so it's property managing your other two units. But
Yeah.
from $1,000 to $100,000 in 5 years. Sign me up. Are you kidding me? It's amazing.
Yeah. I'd love to make $20K a year for years off of 1,000.
Yeah.
That's
So
insane.
wild.
That's a pretty high ROI right there.
I know. After it's even interesting. Yes, there's a lot of places where I can like do a napkin test because I'm very involved in the market. But when I'm running those numbers in my head, it's not taking everything into account. And when I ran these numbers, it was taking in the appreciation of the place, the cash flow,
Yeah.
selling it. And I don't normally run my numbers to sell because I'm not looking for short-term investments, but sometimes it even boggles my mind. I'm like, what? $100,000? This is so
Yeah.
cool. It's
Even
just
if
neat.
we do sell.
Yeah.
All right, so once you figure out the different loan products that are out there right now and you get a general idea of like what you are working towards, whether that is house hacking, like right now for me, I wouldn't want a house hack. I have a family. I don't want to, we've even talked about building an ADU, but we just don't want to share a backyard with anybody right now. We have kids that we want to do whatever we want in our backyard. So that's not for me right now. And that's okay. You don't have to house hack. Like
Yes,
I never actually house hacked and still doing just fine. So, but figure out like in general where you want to go, what you want to buy first, what loan product you could possibly get for that. Maybe it is that you need a 20% or you want to go commercial and you might need a 30% down payment. Once you figure that out, you can start creating a plan for saving. So, Rianna did a lot of saving and she did the whole FIRE method and all that stuff. You can get nitty gritty down into your coffee intake and all these small questions, but start with the big ones. Like maybe you can move somewhere nearby that's less rent and you're saving like $500 a month on rent every single month. Like that would make a lot more difference than not drinking Starbucks the twice a week that you drink it, you know what I mean? So work on the big stuff first and your car expense. So many people forget about their car because it's a necessity, but it's not a necessity to have an $800 car payment. Like figure out what kind of car you need. I just bought a used car. It was only $10,000, which is cheap right now. It's a 2016 e-Golf. And, it was cheap because it was one of the first electric vehicles. It only gets like 75 to 80 miles per charge, which is not great if you want to drive farther places. But for me, it was our second car. I only needed to like pick up my son at daycare and do drop off at soccer practice, run to show a couple houses around town. Like that works for me right now, and it's a perfect car for that. So I highly suggest like figuring out, even if you have to take a little bit of a loss so you don't have $1,000 monthly car payment, that's a way to start saving money. And then yes, you can get nitty gritty from there. I'm not into restricting myself like we talked about earlier. Like I'm really into freedom. So the idea of like not being allowed to go to Pete's the 2 times a week I go to get my tea, that would really suck for me. So I would much rather work on like the big things and like little things. Like I'd rather like cook at home more and be more intentional about our takeout than not being able to go on a girls' trip because I don't want to spend the money on a hotel, you know? So just getting really intentional about how you want to save money that is going to work with your lifestyle. Because if you, like we talked about earlier, if you don't want to eat rice and beans for 5 years, and if it's, for me, it wouldn't work. Like I've done every personality quiz out there and astrology and blah, blah, blah. This is just who I am. And if you've ever heard of Gretchen Rubin's tendencies, I'm a rebel. So the idea of like anybody telling me what to do is like, immediately I'm like, nope, don't want to do that. So if you told me that I had to eat rice and beans every day for a year, I would just be like, no effing way. That's just not gonna work for me. So figure out what's gonna actually work for you in your life. So some people can do it. Like my husband, he ate spaghetti for dinner every night for a couple years because he was broke, but he was living in Hawaii. He didn't want to work harder because he was surfing every day. And so it's like, that worked for him.
I could maybe eat spaghetti every single day if I lived in Hawaii and could every day. Like, maybe let me reevaluate my trade-offs here. But...
yeah, eat that and spam.
Yeah.
But that's actually pretty good. But yeah, so figure out what's going to work for you for the long term. You know, for me, the thing that I can save money on is cooking a lot at home. That's what I like to do. That's what makes me feel good. And I like seeing our takeout bill lower every month. That's how I can do it. And buying the cheaper car, not getting a fancy new car, even though we needed a second car. We could have gotten a lease or done some financing, but that to me was like, why would we do that when I just need something super simple? So figure out what could work for you. Cars are not that important to me, but something might be super important to you. Keep that and do the other and save in other ways. So figure out what's going to work for you.
I think for me this year, I'm working on our eating out bill. Holy guacamole, do we spend a lot of money on eating out? But also that's been it's part of my rich life as far as ordering I shouldn't say within reason. It's not like there's any Michelin star restaurants around here, or we really are like that fancy of eaters. Besides Brazilian restaurants, which is like $60 a person, but that's different, I guess, in my mind.
We just got a fogo de chao. I'm probably totally butchering it, but I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, you still have to go there. But we eat just an insane amount. Or we eat out an insane amount. Part of it is part of my rich life to order what I want on the menu. If this drink costs $2 more than this other one, but I really want it, I'm gonna get that. And that feels really nice and liberating to do because that's not something that I used to do. I used to be pretty strict on that. And even in college, I remember I had a car, not everyone did. I would end up, going out to eat with like big groups of people and I would just order water. But at the time, part of it was restrictive, but part of it was like I just didn't care to eat whatever was there. It's not like I would like leave starving necessarily either. All right, what else did I want to say? Oh, but so we do eat out a lot for convenience because we are running around like, yes, I didn't eat rice and beans for the last 5 years, but we have been a little bit stretching ourselves in our time capacity of doing a million different things at once. And we knew that was short term and we were okay with that. But another thing I'm doing now with eating out is I'm just, like I said many times, trying to get my health in check. And last week did I eat out once? I don't know. It was probably almost a week stretch of not eating out at all. And I'm like,
whoa,
I feel pretty good. Like my stomach feels better. I wonder what would happen if I didn't eat out for longer. Well, then it was a holiday weekend and stuff. But after this weekend, I'm excited to try that a little bit longer, just from a health standpoint.
Totally.
And I'm like, I feel totally different when I'm not eating a bunch of vegetable oil and whatever else goes into restaurants that you don't even know about.
Yeah. What helps me is like having a budget, like not a budget, but like an amount I can spend. So say it's for a whole family, it's $1,000 a month on eating out, takeout, whatever. But then getting to choose within that $1,000 what I'm going to spend the money and what I'm going to prioritize. And I think that helps me with my sense of freedom of like, hey, this is a boundary of like how much I want to spend. But then within that, I get to decide. It's not like you can only eat out once a week. Like that feels, ugh. But this, like a bigger, having freedom within boundaries is what really helps me and allows me to, to keep going.
Yeah, good.
And not to quit
that
and
seems
give up.
To me, it feels too restrictive. I guess I'd intuitively do it, whether that's good or bad. Sometimes I look at it, retroactively, and I'm like, yeah, they got a little out of hand, but it's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, another thing too is like keeping your other priorities in mind too actually can help your finances too. Like keeping your health top of mind. Like actually I feel really great when I don't eat out as much. I should do that. And in turn, I'm probably going to save some money. So win-win.
Right. I'm like, I feel good.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so once you start creating that plan for how you're going to save the money for the down payment, you can also go talk to some lenders and see what you're pre-approved for. You can talk to them too about, if I get to this amount of money in down payment, how much would I be pre-approved for then? Just doing some different scenarios with them. Talk to different lenders too. I didn't realize that. I thought like you worked with one and then that was it. And in my second multifamily deal, like her loan was the lady I'd used before, her interest rate just skyrocketed and I had to she was going to have me put down like 45%. And I was like, holy crap. But then I talked to a friend and he was like, oh, you should try this guy. And it's only 4 units. So it actually could be a residential loan. And I didn't know that. So then I ended up getting this amazing residential loan, only had to put down 25% at an even lower interest rate. So talking to more people, which we're going to talk more about in the next episode of like gathering your team, but you can talk to different lenders and see what you can get. Rianna and I have both had some good luck with the local banks, like mine local to the area I'm investing in, and Rianna lives there too. So that's a good place to start besides just the big bank names. Sometimes the big banks can do lower rates, but the product might not be as good, or I don't know, you'll start learning more once you start talking to different lenders.
Yeah. So for our commercial loans, we talked to 2 different lenders, which honestly it's not even that many. Normally my rule of thumb is like 3 bids when you're working with a vendor for things, 3. But we just spoke with 2, and one of them was not local to the area. I didn't know either of these people. They were recommendations from my commercial realtor. And one of them was not local to that area and was not very big on creative finance. So he's like, you need 20% down. I'm like, I don't have $200,000. Like, no. So, but I did learn a lot on how specific he was and different things that he was looking for, which in turn made me do a better job of underwriting my own property. Yeah. So you're always going to learn something by talking to multiple people. And then the person that we were working with, the current owner of the building actually banked with them. So they already had a good idea of the building, the finances, the previous owner, everything, and was very creative in making something work.
Cool.
It was awesome. So
that's
worked
awesome.
out a lot better than putting down 20%.
Yeah, for sure. So just remember that you can get creative and you can talk to more people, and some are going to be creative, some aren't, but no matter what, you're going to learn something from each of them probably. So no harm in talking to multiple people. Yep. And there are also more financing options than just working with lenders, like private money lending. We're going to save that subject for a later day because it's a little more complex. Yeah. But just know that there's lots of different options out there, and get those finances in order, create that vision even before that, and you're going to be on a great start to your real estate investing journey. So keep listening. Next week, we're going to have an episode all about how to get educated and how to start gathering your team who is going to work alongside you in getting you your first or your next deal.
Yeah.
And we're so excited that you're here. If you want to talk further with us directly, go sign up for one of those coaching sessions, investedandrested.com. We would love to get on a call with you and help you through any of your, if you're at the very beginning or if you're trying to get the next property, like we can help you there. So let us know. We'd love to talk to you. Go follow us on Instagram too and send us a DM if you have a quick question. We'd be happy to share some knowledge with you there as well. So
Yeah,
thank you.
and share your goals with us after you spend some time at a coffee shop or outside or wherever you decide to go on what your 5-10 year vision or whatever sort of goals you'd like to set. We're also goal nerds, and I get so excited hearing what other people's dreams are. So chat with us, send us a DM like Caitlin said, and let's talk more.
Heck yeah, I want to hear about it. I want to see a picture of your vision board, whatever it is. Maybe we'll do a little vision boarding workshop one day.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
All right, friends, thanks so much for joining us today. We will see you next week, Wednesday, on our next step to get started in real estate investing.
All right, thanks everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
And don't forget to subscribe for future episodes and check the show notes to get on our waitlist for retreats and upcoming group coaching programs. Stay rested, friends. Talk soon.